Festival of Forgiveness 2019. This video has been created to inspire all faiths and even those without a faith. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burnt. Buddhism. Be the flower that gives its fragrance to even the hand that crushes it. Islam. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who have trespassed unto us. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Christianity. MIcchammi Dukkdam. Jainism. Forgiveness is not a weakness. Forgiveness is a jewel adorned by the courageous Lord Mahavira. Whichever faith, whichever denomination of that faith, forgiveness is a central virtue to all. Leaders, Mahatma Gandhi. The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. Forgiveness is not an occasional act, but a constant attitude. Martin Luther King. Forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. The only way to real happiness. And finally, forgiveness is unlocking the door to set someone free and realizing you yourself were the prisoner. Paryushan, the annual Jain festival. Pari means all that around us and Ushan means to center ourselves. And it has a ritual of kshama, a process of forgiveness and repentance. In this occasion, I have decided to create a video that's applicable not just for Jains, but those from all faiths, drawing from the teachings of our own philosophy, the tale of Gunsen and Agnisharma. This follows two souls through 9 lifetimes. There was once a kingdom many years ago where there was a young boy called Agnisharma. He had buck teeth, spade-like lips, thin, wiry legs and a pot belly, teased, bullied by all children. Out of those, the prince of that place called Gunsen was particularly culpable. Agnisharma's life was made miserable, and one day he decided to run away. He ran away and got to a hermitage. There, hermits were in meditation. He felt at peace and asked the head hermit, "Can I become one of you?" He said, "Yes." Agnisharma spent time and time in this hermitage growing up and soon became a great hermit himself. However, as a hermit, while he learned about fasting, he did not learn about controlling and calming his inner enemies of anger, greed, ego, deceit. Many years later, the Prince Gunsen became the king, and this king managed to come to the hermitage. In this hermitage, Agnisharma was a famous hermit. Many people used to come to see him. He used to fast for a whole month and then break his fast. The king, Gunsen, felt bad at all the teasing he had done in childhood and asked him, "Please, next time, please break your fast at my palace. I feel bad for all that I have done." Here we come to the meaning of fasting. Upvas, to reside within oneself. Not just a fasting of giving up food, but controlling all senses. Not just by action, but mind, speech and action. Crucially for this story, the mind is just as important as the speech and action, controlling the 5 senses. The time for breaking the fast came. At the end of the month, Agnisharma got to the palace. But as he got to the palace, he realized all the king's men were running helter-skelter. The king was unwell with a terrible headache. And in the commotion, they forgot all about this hermit, Agnisharma. He turned back, realizing he wouldn't get to break his fast, and vowed to fast for another month. The king Gunsen felt bad and went back to Agnisharma. As he got back, he begged for forgiveness. "Please forgive me. Please come again if you so desire to break your fast at the end of the next month in my palace. But if you do not, I understand. I have been greatly at fault." Agnisharma said, "No, I will break my fast at your place." next month. The following month, step by step, this hermit barely managed to walk and get to the king's palace. But what happened at that time? Another king had attacked this King Gunsen, and he was busy defending the kingdom. And in this, all forgot about this hermit, Agnisharma. Another month passed, no fast broken. Agnisharma was not willing to give up on the strength of his penance and decided to fast for another month. The king, Gunsen, realized and went to seek forgiveness. Agnisharma said, "No worries, I'm going to keep fasting. I'll come and break my fast at your palace the following month." The third month. 3 months of penance. At the third month, the queen gave birth to a child, and the king, in the joy, forgot all about this hermit, Agnisharma. He forgot about the fast. Teasing through childhood, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, the anger that was building up like a volcano with the lava erupted. It erupted in the most terrible fashion. Agnisharma was angry. What kind of anger? In the Jain tradition, we talk about 4 inner enemies: anger, greed, ego, and deceit. And the intensity of these. A mild anger is like a line through water. It lasts for a short while, and all is forgotten in a few minutes to hours. A line in the sand is a little bit more intense, taking a bit of the wind, maybe a few days to correct. A line through soil, even harder to break. And finally, a line through hard rock, lasting not days, not months, not years, lifetime after lifetime. The intensity of Agnisharma was like this Anantanubanti, most intense type. Gush, the cycle of life, death and rebirth, and I to increase. In Jainism as in Buddhism, we believe in the cycle of samsara, transmigrating through 4 states of existence, all temporary: human, heaven, animal, and hell. The concept of hell is like purgatory in Christianity, and the concept of heaven is similarly temporary. And through a threefold path of right faith, right knowledge, and right conduct, one can rise to liberation or moksha, eliminating the karmas. The other enemies have comparisons. If greed is said to be like a stain on the human heart, then the first instance is like a water-based paint, easily washed off. The second, like a cooking pan, full of grease, taking much labor to clean. The third, like an oil stain. And the fourth, like a permanent dye, extremely difficult to remove. Similarly, pride can be equated to the degree of stubbornness. The first intensity is pliable like a twig, easily ended with minimal effort. The second, the young branch of a tree, can be bent in a storm. The third, wood from a mature tree. It would take a lot to bend this pride. And finally, Anantanubanti pride, as unbending as a piece of granite. Agnisharma had an intense anger. And he vowed, if there's any cause, any power to my penance, I want to be the cause of Gunsen's death, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And he took a vow to fast until death. In this angry state of mind, his teacher said to him, all your penance has been like so many zeros, and now you're putting a -1 in front of that. Think of the damage you're doing to your soul. But Agnisharma hadn't understood all this, and he said, no, I will be the cause of his death, lifetime after lifetime. His pride was as unbending as anything, as a piece of granite. He died and reincarnated as a demon. He had power because of all his penance, but he didn't know how to use this. Gunsen, on the other hand, felt so bad. Repentance, atonement, repentance. And once he met a Jain saint, he learned about the importance not just of penance, not just of fasting, but also the controlling of the inner enemies, the controlling of anger, greed, ego, pride, deceit, lust, any inner enemy. And he would have felt so bad that he decided to himself give up the kingdom and become a monk. As he went to find his guru, he stopped and meditated at night near a cemetery. At that time, Agnisharma, as a demon, saw him, and he rained hot sand on him, causing his death. At the time of the death, Gunsen only had pure thoughts. Anything bad that's happening is a result of my karmas. I have no enmity. I am at peace. Some lifetimes later, they were born again. Gunsen as a father and Agnisharma as a rogue son. Sometimes we wonder why. Sometimes we meet others and we just don't like them, or we just like them. Why? Jainism says this is due to our vibrations, our past karmas. And until we can calm and settle these bonds of karmas, we keep getting born and born and born. Before having a child, this king, seen the soul of Gunsen, once came across a Jain sadhu, a monk. And this monk was saying a story. In this story, there was a man being chased by an elephant. As he ran, he jumped and held on to a rope hanging from a tree. He looked down and he saw 4 snakes waiting to eat him. He saw an alligator also in this hole, this well. He looked up and he saw a white mouse and a black mouse nibbling away at this rope. The elephant kept shaking the tree, and as he did this, he upset a beehive, and all these bees started stinging him. With this, a spaceship came from the sky, and in this spaceship, there were 3 people. They said, "Give us your hand and we will free you from this predicament from every direction." The man said, "There's some drops of honey falling from this beehive. Let me have a few more drops and then I will come." The sage, the saint, the sadhu continued, "This man represents all of us. The elephant represents old age, death and time that runs after each person. The black mouse and the white mouse represent night and day. Day and night, the string of our life is nibbled away at. The 4 snakes represent anger, greed, ego, deceit, the 4 inner enemies, in a broad, general sense. And the snake, the alligator, represents illusion. The belief that the path of materialism and selfishness is superior to the spiritual path. And the spaceship, the 3 people in them, represent a 3-fold path of right faith, knowledge and conduct. The bees stinging represent worries through different stages of life. In childhood, will I pass this exam? Young adult, will I get married? Once you get married, what problems am I having with my husband or wife? And then as you get old, I've got cataracts, I've got this, I've got that health condition. Worries, worries, worries. The drops of honey represent moments of material pleasure we take, forsaking spiritual contentment and joy. Until towards the end of our life, we do not choose to take the path of peace, of forgiveness, of spirituality, preferring the material path. And this story applies to all. If one is not from a Jain background, one can take the spiritual path to mean any spiritual path of positive virtues you can think of, and the material path of any vices and negativity. In the second birth, this son was a soul of Agnisharma, and the mum had a dream. The dream was of a snake entering her womb. In dream science, she realized there were some unauspicious symbols of this child, and she felt this child could be the cause of death of her husband. But even though she wanted to forsake the child, her husband, the father, the soul of Gunsen, said, "No, this is our child, we must look after him." This child grew up, and in time, the child decided he wanted to take over the kingdom and kill his father. The father wanted to give up the kingdom anyway, and he wanted to become a monk. As per the earlier story he'd heard, before he had this chance, his own son killed him. He died in a state of peace. and forgiveness. And we see such terrible stories sometimes in the news and we wonder, where do they come from? According to our faith, it is from the vibrations of previous births. If enmity lasts for more than a year, or is of such an intensity that one cannot let go, there is a big chance it can go into our subconscious, damaging us, creating negative vibrations for such a long time. In this festival of Paryushan for Jains and Pratyekaman, we seek forgiveness from the 8.4 million species of life, 84 lakh jivyoni. This enmity between Agnisharma and forgiveness of Gunsen lasted many more lifetimes. In life 3 as a son and an evil mother, JALINI, poisoning her own child. A husband and a wife in life 4. 2 brothers in life 5. And husband and a wife in life 6. In 7 as 2 brothers again. Life 8 and finally life 9 as Samraditya and Vijay. Finally, Agnisharma realized how many millions of years he had negative states of existence and animal kingdoms in hell, and in between fueling this fire, this rage, this enmity. And he gave up his enmity to the great soul of Samraditya, who attained liberation in that final 9th life, slowly ascending the ladder of spirituality. We see similar stories throughout not only the Jain tradition, but many other traditions. MIcchammi Dukkdam, this Paryushan, I seek your forgiveness. While we often seek forgiveness from each and every person, like we are at a station with people passing all around, whether or not you are Jain, all faiths believe in forgiveness. This Paryushan resolved to clear all debts of rage or revenge, absolutely. And if the other person is not willing to forgive you, at least end the hate and rage in your own mind and give them silent blessings. Mani, vachan, kaya, by mind, by speech or action. MIcchammi Dukkdam. Every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. If due to my limited knowledge, I've taken any single viewpoint, ekanta, and not anekanta, or multiple viewpoints, or said anything wrong or hurt anyone's feelings, please forgive me. MIcchammi Dukkdam. Just like we saw in that picture of the train station, while we should seek from MIcchammi Dukkdam from each person, each of us will have 4, 5 key people in our lives whom we've had terrible problems with. Pick up the phone today, or if you cannot pick up the phone, seek in your mind. Think of that person, those people, and vow to end the chains of hatred, rage and enmity that continue lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Not just anger, end the jealousy that plagued Othello as per Shakespeare. End the pride that pained Macbeth as in Shakespeare. Whichever tales and stories you know, think of those characters and end those chains of negative karmas. Seek forgiveness and forgive. This Paryushan. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this message of Paryushan and this message of Pratyekaman, a festival of forgiveness, not just for Jains, not just for humans, but for all 8.4 million species of life. Mani, vachan, kaya, MIcchammi Dukkdam.